Same equation, opposite outcomes. Why Japan's debt is sustainable and America's isn't. Flint West reporting. Let me tell you a little secret about the global economy, kid. One of those secrets that hides in plain sight, plastered right there in every IMF report, every CBO forecast, every dusty academic paper nobody reads after the midterm. It is a single equation. One line, one quiet assassin. Primary balance is greater than or equal to the quantity R minus G multiplied by debt divided by GDP. That is it. The whole fiscal universe, every bailout, every bond issuance, every election year bribe is hanging off that one rusty nail. Now watch closely, because here is where the magic trick becomes a murder mystery. Act 1. Two giants, one formula. Japan and America both walk into the room with the same equation chained around their ankles, but they walk out with opposite fates. Japan, debt piled to the ceiling, 232% of GDP. Should be dead, should be buried, should be a cautionary tale in neon lights. America, debt around 122% of GDP, half Japan's weight class, should be dancing, should be celebrating, should be lecturing the world about responsibility. But somehow, Japan floats, America sinks. Welcome to the part where the crowd gasps. Act 2. Japan's strange magic. Japan is supposed to be the fiscal haunted house of the developed world. Creaky, over-leveraged, ruled by demographics straight out of a horror novel. But here is the plot twist. Japan pays almost nothing on its debt. The average interest rate on the whole mountain, around 0.9%. Why? Because the Bank of Japan owns half the bonds and plays keeper of the universe. Because domestic investors are docile and obedient. Because nobody flips the table. Japan's R is pinned to the floor like a wrestling match that is already decided. Meanwhile, nominal growth, real plus deflator, hangs around 3 to 3.5%. So what is R minus G? Negative. Deeply negative. Which means Japan could run a 5 to 6% primary deficit and still keep debt stable. What do they actually run? 0.5% in the negative. A rounding error, a sneeze, a fiscal paper cut. Japan's debt does not grow. It evaporates quietly behind the curtain. Act 3. America's trapdoor. Now let us pan the camera to Washington. The United States, mighty issuer of the global reserve currency, pays an average interest rate around 3.4% and rising. Nominal growth, around 4% on a good day. So what is R minus G? Close to zero. Barely negative, sometimes positive. Translation, no breathing room, no margin for error, no slack in the system. But does America run a tiny deficit like Japan? No. America runs a 3 to 4% primary deficit every single year, with a spending habit like a trust fund kid in Vegas. So the math does what the math always does. Debt climbs, interest climbs, more debt, more interest. Repeat until crisis. America is running uphill with a weight vest, asthma, and a cigarette dangling from its mouth. Act 4. Why America cannot copy Japan. This is where the uninitiated scream, why cannot America do yield curve control too? Just pin rates to zero, hose the bondholders, and vibe check the market? Simple. Japan is a closed loop. Domestic savers, domestic banks, domestic pension funds. A central bank that practically owns the kingdom. America is the world's collateral warehouse. Foreign governments finance its deficits. Global funds price its bonds. Treasuries are the spine of international liquidity. If the United States tried Japan-style rate suppression, foreign holders would sprint for the exits. The dollar would crater. Inflation expectations would erupt, and America would set itself on fire to stay warm. Japan can hose its bondholders. America is its bondholders. Act 5. Same equation, opposite outcomes. Here is the punchline, the Flint Dispatch signature sign-off. Japan survives because it controls the price of its debt. America struggles because the world controls the price of its debt. Japan's R stays low, while G stays just high enough to let the system glide. America's R has risen, G has flattened, and the primary deficit is a wrecking ball. Same equation. Opposite worlds, different destinies. This is not ideology. It is just arithmetic wearing a trench coat. And arithmetic does not bluff. Not even for the United States. Flint West signing off.